All right, today we are diving headfirst into Émile Zola's absolute masterpiece, Thérèse Raquin. But I want you to forget everything you think you know about tragic 19th century novels. This is not a love story, not even close. Zola designed this book to be something much colder, something far more ruthless, a scientific experiment. We're not reading a story, we're observing a clinical study of human animals, pushed to their absolute limits.
I mean, you don't even have to take my word for it. Zola himself tells us exactly what he's up to in his own preface. Listen to this. I have selected personages sovereignly dominated by their nerves and their blood. Thérèse and Laurent are human brutes, nothing more. He's not mincing words, is he? He's telling us right from the start, don't look for heroes or villains here. Don't look for morality. These are just animals in human skin driven by pure instinct. And this is the beating heart of naturalism. The chilling idea that your biology and your environment decide your fate. Period. Zola isn't just telling a tale, he's performing an autopsy on the living. So, what's the core variable in this experiment? It all comes down to one word: temperament. For Zola, your temperament, your nerves in your blood, as he puts it, that's your destiny. It's the code you're born with. There's no room for free will in this worldview. It's just an illusion. He wanted to see what would happen when you take two very different biological systems, put them under intense pressure, and just watch. The result isn't a story of good and evil. It's more like a chemical reaction. Inevitable. Unstoppable.
So let's meet our two guinea pigs. First up, we have Thérèse. Zola calls her temperament nervous. She spent her entire life in a suffocating, passionless environment, forced to be quiet, almost catatonic. But underneath that calm surface, there is this incredible, dormant passion just waiting to erupt, a coiled spring of feline energy. And then we have Laurent. He's the complete opposite, a sanguineous temperament. He's a simple, powerful guy, driven by his appetites. He wants good food, an easy life, and physical pleasure. He's not complicated. So Zola's whole experiment boils down to one question. What happens when you put these two forces of nature in the same cage?
Well, every experiment needs a laboratory, and Zola creates the most perfect, miserable cage you could ever imagine, the Passage du Pôle Neuf. He describes it as basically a tomb. It's narrow, it's dark, it smells of damp and rot. The little shop where Thérèse lives is trapped in this perpetual twilight, never seeing the sun. Zola is very deliberate here. He's creating a pressure cooker. He's trapping these two volatile people in a place with no light and no air, and he's just waiting for the inevitable explosion.
And an explosion is exactly what we get. The affair that ignites between Thérèse and Laurent isn't a romance. This is pure physical necessity. It's a violent, desperate release of all their pent-up nature. But there's a problem, isn't there? An inconvenience. Her husband, the sickly, clueless Camille. For Zola's human brutes, the solution isn't complicated. When something's in your way, you just remove it.
The murder itself is so brutally simple, it's chilling. A boat trip, a quick struggle, and Laurent, the stronger animal, simply eliminates his rival. But in that moment, Zola does something absolutely genius. As Camille is going into the water, he does the only thing he can do to fight back. He bites Laurent, deeply, right on the neck. And this bite mark, it's not just a wound. It becomes the physical proof of their crime, a permanent scar. They manage to fool everyone with their act of grief, but they can never, ever erase the brand that the dead man left on Laurent's skin.
So, the problem is solved. You would think this is where they finally get their happily ever after, right? Wrong. So wrong. Because for Zola, the murder wasn't the climax of the story. It was just the beginning of the real experiment, Phase 2. With the obstacle gone, he can now begin his cold, meticulous observation of their slow, agonizing decay.
And this is absolutely crucial to understanding what happens next. They don't feel guilt, not in any moral or spiritual sense. They're not worried about their souls. What they feel is a purely physical reaction. Zola calls it a simple organic disorder. It's their own bodies, their own nervous systems, in open revolt against what they've done. Their remorse isn't a feeling, it's a sickness, a poison that they've ingested, and it's eating them alive from the inside out.
To try and get some peace, to confirm that Camille is really truly gone, Laurent develops this unbelievably morbid obsession. Every single morning he goes to the Paris morgue. Now, you have to picture this. The morgue in the 19th century wasn't some private, sterile place. It was a public attraction, a gruesome theater, where the unidentified dead were put on display behind glass for anyone to come and gawk at. And Laurent becomes a regular visitor, forcing himself to stare at the bloated, disfigured corpses, searching for the face of the man he murdered, thinking that seeing the body will finally set him free.
But here's the thing. He never finds Camille's body. And pretty soon, it doesn't matter. Because he doesn't have to go to the morgue to find the dead anymore. The drowned man comes to them. The horror that Laurent was so desperately seeking out in the city has now found its way into their home, into their bedroom.
And this right here is where the book descends into pure nightmare fuel. Every single night, when Thérèse and Laurent get into bed together, the bed they killed for, they feel the cold, wet, rotting corpse of Camille lying between them. And Zola holds nothing back. He describes the putrid green flesh, the awful stench. This isn't just a memory. It's a shared, physical hallucination. It's a phantom corpse that has become a real barrier, making any kind of passion, any intimacy utterly impossible. Their crime has literally followed them to bed.
Just when you think things can't get any more terrifying, any more claustrophobic, Zola introduces perhaps the cruelest twist in the entire novel. Madame Raquin, Camille's mother, has a massive stroke. It leaves her completely paralyzed, unable to move or speak. She becomes, as Zola puts it, a piece of living furniture. But here's the horror. Her mind is perfectly sharp, her eyes are alive, and from her chair she starts to hear them, fighting, screaming, confessing everything in their nightly terrors. She learns the truth, she knows they murdered her son, and she is trapped inside her own body, forced to be the silent witness to their crime, day after agonizing day.
There's this one scene that is just excruciating to read. During a party, Madame Raquin musters every single ounce of willpower she has left. With this monumental effort, she manages to lift one finger and she starts to trace letters on the table. Thérèse and Laurent have... Everyone gathers around, fascinated. She's so close to exposing them. And then, one of their oblivious friends cheerfully interrupts, finishing the sentence for her, "Taken good care of me." And just like that, the moment is shattered. Her one chance for justice is snuffed out by pure, idiotic chance. You can only imagine the silent scream of rage and despair trapped behind her eyes. And so we arrive at the grim finale. Zola's experiment has run its course. The two subjects, hopelessly bound together by blood and horror, have completely broken down. All that's left is the cold, raw, scientific result of their collision. So what does this final stage look like? Well, that passion that started it all has warped into a violent physical revulsion. They can't stand the sight of each other. Violence becomes their only language. And all the while, that scar on Laurent's neck is a constant, screaming reminder of their sin. They blame each other, of course, for their shared misery. They are trapped in a prison far more terrifying than any jail cell, a psychological cage they built for themselves, forged from fear, disgust, and a bottomless mutual hatred.
At this point, their nervous systems are completely shot. There's nothing left. And their animalistic minds can only arrive at one final, logical conclusion. The only way to finally be free from this torture is to kill the other person. And in a final twisted moment of shared purpose, they both decide to murder each other on the exact same night. He prepares poison, she sharpens a knife. It's their last shared instinct. Mutual destruction is the only escape.
They catch each other in the act. He sees the knife, she sees the poison. And in that last moment, there's a flicker of understanding. They both take the poison and collapse dead at the feet of the paralyzed Madame Raquin, who watches them, triumphant, for hours. The experiment is over. The human brutes have destroyed each other. And so Zola leaves us with this final chilling question. What's really more disturbing here? The murder and the suicide? Or the cold scientific idea that none of it was ever a choice? That these were just organisms reacting to their environment, destined from the very start to collide and self-destruct?